Dr. Kalen Reese had seen plenty of strange things during his tenure aboard the joint expeditionary vessel Argent Dynamo. Meteorites that hummed Gregorian chants, spatial anomalies shaped like disgruntled bunnies, and once, a lonely space whale that insisted on following them for 3 systems like an oversized, hyperdimensional puppy in need of cosmic belly rubs. But none of those, absolutely none, prepared him for the green-skinned woman lying at the bottom of crater Sigma 12, wrapped in shimmering dust, looking as though she'd fallen straight out of some interstellar fashion magazine that specialized in enigmatic danger chic. The reports didn't mention anything about aliens. Kalen had muttered just minutes earlier, right before he discovered that the universe didn't care much for reports, regulations, or his desire to avoid trouble. Now he knelt beside her in the medical bay, one hand braced under her calf, the other hovering uncertainly over the stabilization bands, sleek, padded restraints designed to keep injured patients from thrashing during decompression therapy. She had insisted on keeping them on. If you remove those straps, she had warned him the moment she regained consciousness, her voice a sultry alto with just enough threat to qualify as foreplay on certain planets. I will absolutely kick you. Possibly flirtatiously, possibly not. It depends on your bedside manner. Kalen, who had been startled enough to nearly drop his medical scanner, had accepted this with the same resigned professionalism he applied to everything else in life. Now, as she sat propped against a support pillar, her leg extended, her other foot crossed over her knee in a posture that managed to be both regal and exasperated, she watched him through luminous gold eyes. Your hands are warm, she observed. I am a mammal, Kalen replied dryly. And I, she said, am cold-blooded. That combination either makes us evolutionarily incompatible or deeply interesting. Kalen's mouth briefly opened, then closed. He was not trained for conversational flirtation with crater-dwelling extraterrestrials. He was trained for wound care, bone realignment, and dealing with crewmates who got stuck in air ducts during dares. He cleared his throat. You didn't tell me your name. You didn't ask. I'm asking now. She paused, a dramatic hesitation that suggested she was considering whether a fake identity would be funnier. Visara, she said at last. Daughter of the Line of Echoes, keeper of the Eightfold Blades, heir to... Kalen raised a hand to stop her. I don't need the royal resume, just... Whatever you go by on regular days. Vesa, she conceded. But if anyone dangerous asks, I'm Luna Targulian, podiatrist. Good to know. He adjusted the position of the stabilizer around her ankle. She let out a small sound, not quite pain, not quite annoyance, which made 2 of the nearby technicians glance over with expressions that said they fully intended to gossip later. Kalen ignored them. You said not to unstrap you, he reminded gently. But the medical protocol, she interrupted with a flick of her fingers. Medical protocol doesn't account for the fact that if I flex too hard during recovery, I might accidentally vaporize half the equipment in this room. Kalen paused. Slowly, carefully. He closed his scanner. Vaporize, he repeated. She nodded. Reflexive plasma discharge. Completely harmless to me. Extremely unpleasant for organic things around me, and moderately inconvenient for non-organic equipment. Kalen took a deep breath. So the restraints are a courtesy, she said cheerfully. I didn't want to accidentally blow your kneecaps off while you're touching my leg. Kalen appreciated the honesty, if not the mental imagery. Well, thank you for the courtesy. You're welcome. Her tone brightened. And yes, you may admire the leg. It is objectively excellent. I'm not admiring anything, Kalen countered, adjusting the diagnostic pad against her calf. Denial. How human. He felt heat rising to his cheeks. I'm literally checking for fractures. That's what they all say. Kalen exhaled a slow, steady breath that conveyed the quiet suffering of a man who regretted leaving his bunk that morning. Around them, the sterile silver blue of the medical bay hummed with energy. Hollow monitors flickered with scans. Technicians reviewed alien biosignatures, and above the central diagnostic cradle, tubes of crystalline biogel pulsed like luminous veins. The Argent Dynamo was, for all intents, a ship that expected weirdness, just maybe not this flavor of weirdness. So, Vesa continued conversationally as he scanned the tissue along her shin. How long until I can walk again? That depends on whether you follow the treatment plan. Will the treatment plan involve you touching more of me? He nearly dropped the scanner. In a purely medical capacity, he clarified sharply. She smiled, slow and feline. Of course. I believe you humans call that plausible deniability. Kalen looked up at the ceiling and wondered whether the universe was laughing at him personally. It usually was. When I found you, he said, redirecting. You were unconscious. The crater looked like an impact zone. Were you in a crash? Vesa wrinkled her nose. Technically, yes. Contextually? No. That's not helpful. Fine, she conceded. My ship was attacked, so I teleported out before it exploded. Unfortunately, the emergency coordinates were set by my sibling, who has a long history of mixing numbers and leaving important settings on chaotic neutral. So I landed in a crater. She paused. Gracefully, Kalen raised an eyebrow. Gracefully? In the sense that I lived, she clarified. Everything else is negotiable. Your injuries aren't life-threatening, Kalen said. Mostly bruising, some ligament strain, and a wounded ego, Vesa added. Don't forget that part. He nodded solemnly. I'll add it to the chart. Thank you. I expect full emotional rehabilitation. That's not in my job description. It is now. He decided not to respond. As he scanned along her thigh, purely for medical reasons, he reminded himself sternly. She tilted her head and asked, Why did you rescue me? Kalen blinked. What? You could have left. Humans aren't obligated to pick up mysterious alien women from random impact craters. Her voice softened, not flirtatious this time, but genuinely curious. So why help me? Kalen hesitated. Because you were hurt and alone, and I'm a medic. That's a technical answer, she said, waving her bound hand limply. I'm asking for the real answer. He looked down at her leg, at the faint glow under her skin, at the subtle pattern of bioluminescence that pulsed with her heartbeat. Something about her, beyond the sarcasm and theatrics, felt fragile, tired, because no one deserves to be left like that, he said quietly. Vesa stilled. For the first time since she'd woken, she wasn't smirking, or teasing, or performing. She was quiet. Ah, she murmured, almost too soft to hear. A human answer. He wasn't sure what that meant. He wasn't sure if it was good, but after a moment the mischief returned, sliding onto her face like a mask she'd grown accustomed to wearing. Well, she said lightly, now I'm obligated by cosmic etiquette to protect you from certain death at least once. That's not necessary. Too late, she sing-songed. The pact has been sealed. You saved me, so naturally I must now dramatically repay the debt in ways that are inconvenient, awkward, and almost certainly embarrassing for you. Kalen groaned. Please don't. Too late, she repeated. He stood, moving to the console to process her scans, and she watched him with renewed interest, eyes glimmering in a way that implied she was preparing to say something he wouldn't enjoy. You know, she began, for a human, you're quite— No, you didn't even let me finish, because whatever you were going to say would make me regret letting you speak. She flashed a grin. Quite symmetrical, Kalen blinked. Symmetrical, yes, she nodded sagely. In many cultures, symmetry is considered attractive. Among mine, it's considered a sign of genetic overachievement. He stared at her. Are you complimenting me or diagnosing me? Why not both? He returned to the console before he said something unprofessional. Behind him, she tugged experimentally at the stabilizer bindings. They held firm, humming softly with calibrated energy. You know, she remarked, most humans I've met are very eager to unstrap me. Kalen sputtered. That's not— You can't just— What? Comment on human tendencies. Her expression turned innocent. We are discussing anthropology, are we not? That's not what— Your ears are turning red again. He clenched his jaw. You know, she added thoughtfully. If you wanted to loosen the straps for purely medical reasons— No, he said instantly. You told me not to. Oh, I did? She nodded. But it's very fun watching you struggle to process the implications. Kalen pinched the bridge of his nose. One of the technicians across the room snorted loudly. Another sent Kalen a sympathetic look that translated roughly to, I'm glad it's you and not me. Vesa leaned back against the pillar, hair cascading over her shoulders, expression lazy and amused. So, human Kalen Reese, What happens now? Well, he said, composing himself, I'm going to run your cellular scans, determine the safest treatment protocol, and contact the captain about your arrival. And in the meantime? In the meantime, you rest, she smiled. With you watching. He hesitated. Medically supervising. That's what they all say. He exhaled. You're going to be difficult, aren't you? It's part of my charm. That's debatable. She gave him a wicked little smirk. You'll come around. He met her gaze steady and unamused. No, I won't. Humans say that right before they fall in love, she said breezily. I am not. That's not. Of course. He threw his hands up. You know what? I'm going to get the neuroscan calibrator. Take your time, she purred. I'll be right here, strapped, helpless, awaiting your expert hands. He walked away so fast he nearly tripped. Behind him, Vesa chuckled, soft, pleased, and just loud enough for him to hear. When Kalen returned to the diagnostic cradle carrying the neuroscan calibrator, he had mentally prepared himself. He had coached himself. He had repeated a mantra. He had sworn, on his medical license, his grandmother's cast-iron cookie pan, and the sacred honor of the Argent Dynamo's annual dodgeball team, that he would remain calm, neutral, unflustered. And then Vesa looked at him. Just looked. A simple tilt of the head, a lazy knowing smile, and a pair of luminous gold eyes that glowed like someone had shoved a sunbeam into an expression capable of causing heart palpitations. Kalen's resolve melted like cheap candy in a plasma vent. You're back, she said, voice warm and irritatingly amused. I was worried you'd gotten lost. Your ship has a very confusing layout. All these hallways, all these rooms. Very maze-like. Perfect for scandalous encounters. He stared. We're in a medical wing. Do humans not have scandalous encounters in medical wings? No, really. She blinked. Are you sure? That seems like exactly the place you'd have them. We absolutely do not. She hummed thoughtfully. A cultural tragedy. Kalen set the calibrator down on the table harder than strictly necessary. All right, he said, clipping professionalism back into his voice. We need to run a neural conductivity scan to determine the extent of your charm? Injuries. Ah, well that too. She shifted slightly, testing the stabilization straps. They didn't budge. The padded restraints shimmered with blue energy, designed to adapt to muscle, tension, and prevent sudden movement. Kalen tried very hard not to think about how her movements drew attention to the asymmetrical slits in her dress or how the torn fabric looked like the universe had attempted fashion design while drunk. Before we continue, he said, I need to ask about your physiology. The scans show a subdermal bioluminescent network. Does it respond to emotions? Temperature? Stress? Flirtation, she said immediately. He paused. Flirtation? It brightens when I'm amused, or intrigued, or thinking about very inappropriate things. Kalen opened his medkit, and right now it's glowing. Very brightly, he stared at her. Why? You're fun. I'm not trying to be fun. You're fun accidentally. It's very endearing, he sighed, the deep, weary exhale of someone who had aged 3 years in the last 10 minutes. Try to stay still, he said. No promises. He lifted the calibrator, a wand-like device with a palm-sized interface and a coil that glowed faint teal. It hummed softly, vibrating with power. Vesa's brows lifted. That's quite large. It's standard issue. It looks compensatory. It is absolutely not compensatory. She arched a green brow. Humans always say that about their tools. Kalen activated the device with a snap. A thin beam of light extended, scanning the air before settling on Vesa's temple. She didn't flinch, but her gaze flicked upward as though trying to gauge the intensity without appearing to care. What does it do? She asked. Measures neuroelectric firing patterns, Kalen said. It tells me if the teleporter shock caused synaptic overdischarge. And if there's swelling. Yes. And if you're experiencing cognitive fragmentation. How scandalous. That's not what that meant. Are you sure? He pressed his lips together. Please hold still. I am, mostly. He adjusted the beam around the contour of her cheek. Her skin glowed faintly under the light, the bioluminescent pattern shimmering in pulses that almost looked, Kalen realized with horror, suspiciously like laughter. You're amused. Very. Why? You're very close. It is a scan. You're breathing on me. That is involuntary. Is it? I assumed you were doing it for effect. Vesa, he said through teeth that had officially run out of patience, stop flirting with me. I can't. Why? I tried earlier. It felt unnatural. I'm committed now. Kalen stepped back and adjusted the device. According to this, he said, reading the display, your neural conductivity levels are stable. Very high, but stable. High is good. High means one bad sneeze could take out half the ship. Vesa winced. Ah, yes, that. Kalen paused. You sneeze plasma. Not on purpose. That doesn't make it better. She smiled sheepishly. You should see my family gatherings. He rubbed his forehead. Please tell me you at least warn people before you sneeze. I say incoming. That counts. No, it doesn't. It does on my planet. Kalen closed his eyes. I am begging you, for the sake of everyone aboard this ship, do not sneeze. Well, she drawled, that depends. On what? On whether you keep making me laugh. He glared. She smiled wider. One of the technicians snorted again. Kalen turned. You! Out! The technician nearly sprinted from the room. Vesa clapped, delighted. You command them well. I am not commanding anyone. You commanded him. That wasn't. And now, she said, voice low with playful gravity. You're here commanding me. I absolutely am not. You're pointing a big humming tool at my head. It's a scanner. It's very authoritative. Kalen inhaled sharply. Vesa, you know, she continued, tone musing. Where I come from, this would be considered an intimate medical ritual. This is a diagnostic. Cultures vary. He stared up at the ceiling. If there is a higher power listening right now, I would like a refund. Vesa shifted just slightly, testing the restraints again. If you want, she said, you can loosen the upper straps. They're not strictly necessary for balance anymore. Kalen hesitated. She caught it instantly. Oh, nervous? I'm not nervous. You think I'll escape? You might. She smirked. If I wanted to escape, I'd have left 10 minutes ago. Then why are you still strapped to the stabilizer? Because. Her smile softened. Not teasing, not mocking, just warm. You told me you're responsible for my safety. And it was nice. Having someone say that, Kalen froze. That was unexpected. He swallowed. You trust me? I don't trust easily, she admitted. But you came for me. You carried me out of that crater like it was nothing. You worried. You scolded. You fussed. She tilted her head. It was annoyingly charming. His stomach flipped in a way he didn't approve of. He cleared his throat. Fine, I'll loosen the upper strap, but slowly, and only because you're recovering. Of course, she said, smile widening. Do it slowly. I like the suspense. That's not, I meant for safety. I know what you meant. He stepped beside her and manually adjusted the clasp on the strap across her upper arm. The energy field flickered and relaxed, giving her just enough movement to shift her shoulders. She inhaled softly. Better? He asked. A bit. She rolled her shoulder experimentally. The torn fabric of her dress slipped, revealing more of the glowing pattern along her collarbone. Kalen immediately averted his gaze, not because he was prudish, but because he absolutely was not giving her the satisfaction. You're looking away, she teased. I'm maintaining professionalism. You're flustered. No. You are. No. She leaned in. Your pulse just jumped. That is not medically confirmed. You're holding your breath. He exhaled. Ah, she said triumphantly. I win. You weren't competing. I'm always competing. He secured the loosened strap, ensuring it wouldn't fully detach. You know, she added, a thoughtful lilt entering her voice. You humans are very interesting. How so? You panic easily. You blush easily. You fumble easily. And yet, when things get dangerous, you become strangely bold. She nodded approvingly. It's very contradictory. Very entertaining, very compelling. Kalen felt his ears warm. I'm not compelled. I said I was compelled. Oh, she paused. Unless you want to be compelled as well? Vesa, she laughed, a sound bright enough to activate 3 tiny glowing dots near her jawline. It's fascinating, she said. You save my life without hesitation, yet you panic when I compliment your face. I don't panic. You do. I'm just not used to aliens being so forward? Yes. Transparent? Yes. Devastatingly attractive? Kalen choked. No, that's not, she said knowingly. So you do think I'm attractive? That is not what I said. It's what you didn't say. He turned away before she could see the expression fighting its way onto his features. Behind him, she laughed again. Tell me something human, Kalen, she said. Why are your people so adorably repressed? We're not repressed. You're repressing yourself right now. Vesa, I'm very patient, she said. You'll crack eventually. I will not crack, she finished, like an overcooked ration bar. Kalen scrubbed a hand over his face. We are done with diagnostics? No, we're not. Yes, we are. Did you check my cardiac cycle? Yes. Did you check my subdermal oscillation? Yes. Did you check the emotional disruptions in my aura field? That's not real. It is to me. He stared. You're making things up. Of course I am, she said brightly. It's fun watching you try to keep up. He muttered something unflattering under his breath. Vesa stretched, just slightly, just enough to shift the glowing lines under her skin, and watched him with an amused softness that made his stomach twist again. What happens now? She asked. I send the medical report to the captain, Kalen said. Then we figure out where you're from, who attacked your ship, and what to do with you. What to do with me, she repeated, smirking. Careful, human Kalen. That sounds like responsibility. It is, and I take responsibility seriously. She tilted her head, considering him with a strange tenderness. I noticed, she said quietly. He paused. Her tone had changed, subtle but unmistakable. No teasing, no sass. Something real, something vulnerable. It unsettled him more than all the flirting combined. You okay? He asked. Yes. She looked down at her restrained hands. Just thinking. About what? How strange it feels, she said softly, to be safe. Kalen didn't know what to do with that. He didn't know what to say, so as usual he said the wrong thing. You are safe here. Vesa blinked. He panicked. Medically speaking, she laughed, the vulnerability dissolving into something brighter, something relieved. Thank you, she murmured. He looked away. A beat of silence stretched. Then, so, she said lightly. On a scale from 1 to 10, how attractive am I by human standards? Vesa, be honest. No, coward. He groaned, she grinned, and somewhere, deep in the hull of the Argent Dynamo, Fate, all-knowing and deeply amused, rolled its metaphorical eyes and said, Oh, this is going to be fun. If Kalen had been asked which part of his day was most likely to ruin his composure, he would have confidently pointed at Vesa, bound to a stabilizer, glowing smugly, and speaking in a dialect composed entirely of flirtation, sarcasm, and dangerous levels of confidence. He would have been wrong. Because 10 minutes into filing her medical report, the ship's internal comm chimed with the unmistakable tone of impending doom. Dr. Reese, Captain Arden requesting your presence in command. Kalen closed his eyes. Of course she is. From behind him, Vesa perked up. Your superior wants to see you. Are you in trouble? No, he said automatically. You said that too quickly. He ignored this. I'll be back shortly. She leaned back, eyes smoldering with mischief. Hurry, I get lonely. He paused. There are 8 technicians here. Yes, she said. But they don't fluster as easily. Kalen left before she could weaponize the statement further. Command Deck Captain Arden was waiting the way she always waited, arms folded, shoulders squared, posture sharp enough to qualify as a structural hazard. Doctor, she gestured him forward. Explain this. On the holo display floated a rotating 3D rendering of Vesa, glowing, beautiful, restrained, and somehow managing to look like she was posing for a heroic statue installation, despite being medically immobilized. Kalen cleared his throat. She's recovering. Mild ligament damage, neural overdischarge. Also, she's, very talkative. That is not in the report. No, Captain. What else isn't in the report? Kalen considered his options. All of them were terrible. Well, he admitted. She's socially enthusiastic. Arden's brow arched. Meaning? She talks a lot. In what way? Kalen paused. Aggressively. There was a moment of silence in which Arden visibly attempted to translate this into something medically meaningful. Doctor, she said finally, is the alien a threat? Possibly. Arden's eyes narrowed. Explain. She can sneeze plasma. The room fell very, very quiet. Arden pinched the bridge of her nose. Is she unstable? Well, Kalen said, emotionally. Yes. Physically? Also yes. But she's cooperative. That seems improbable. I know. Arden stepped closer to the hollow projection, studying Vessa's anatomy. What species is she? She didn't specify. Why? She got distracted. By what? Kalen's jaw tightened. Ooh, me. Arden turned slowly. Explain. She said humans are symmetrical. That is not an explanation. She implied it was a compliment. Arden exhaled the long-suffering sigh of a commander who had weathered 9 mutinies, 3 impossible missions and 1 incident with sentient gelatin that still haunted the crew. Doctor, she said, is this alien flirting with you? Kalen stared at the floor. Yes, and is she any good at it? Unfortunately, Arden nodded grimly. Then we have a diplomatic problem. Captain, you are bringing her to command. Kalen blinked. Captain, she is currently restrained. Yes, good. That should reduce the chances she seduces my entire command crew. Kalen sputtered. She is not going to— Doctor. Arden fixed him with a gaze that could peel paint. I am placing the alien under your supervision. Kalen went very still. My supervision? Yes, she seems attached to you. She is not attached. She glows when you speak. That is a biological reaction. She asked if she could borrow you. Kalen choked. She said that? She did. Kalen covered his face. Captain, I cannot be responsible for her. You already are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Congratulations. Please don't congratulate me. Arden dismissed him with a wave. Fetch her. Kalen left with the defeated gait of a man being marched toward destiny against his will. Back in Medical Vessa. Spotted him the moment he stepped through the doors. There you are, she purred. Did the captain ask about me? Yes. And? She wants to meet you. Vessa beamed. Wonderful. Untie me. No, why not? Because according to the captain, you are now under my supervision. Vessa's smile became positively luminous. Oh, I like that. It's not. Tell me more about how you're responsible for me, she said, leaning forward with predatory delight. Kalen fought the urge to sit down and give up entirely. Let's go. You have to unstrap me first, she said sweetly. Unless you prefer to carry me, he froze. She grinned. You hesitated. I did not. You did. No, you absolutely did. He inhaled through his teeth. Fine, I'll release the stabilizers. She lifted her chin proudly. Untie me then, human Kalen. He shook his head. I swear you say things just to make my life difficult. Oh, absolutely. He disabled the primary restraints. The blue shimmer faded, releasing her arms and torso. She stretched in a way that was distinctly, undeniably deliberate. Kalen turned away. Vessa laughed. So shy. I am not shy. You can say that, she said, but your ears are doing that thing again. They are not. Glowing human ears, she mused. Adorable. Are you coming or not? I'm thinking about it. Vessa. She stood, slightly unsteady, and he immediately reached out to steady her. Her hand found his forearm, warm, firm, confident. Well, she said softly, you catch me quickly. Good reflexes. I'm medically trained. They walked out together. Technicians stared. Vessa relished the attention. Kalen regretted everything. The walk to command they moved through the corridors of the Argent Dynamo, Kalen brisk and rigid. Vessa strolling with the serene swagger of someone who had decided the ship belonged to her now. Crew members gawked. Vessa waved like royalty. Kalen considered retiring early. You know, Vessa murmured as they entered the lift. This ship smells interesting. It smells like recycled oxygen and sterilized metal. Yes, interesting, he sighed. Are you nervous about meeting the captain? She can't possibly be scarier than you, he blinked. I'm not scary. You come into rooms with scanners and rules and don't touch that energy. Very terrifying. That's just medical protocol, she leaned in, whispering. Terrifying. He stepped away before she made it sound like an invitation. Command deck again. When they entered, Vessa lifted her chin, shoulders back, expression regal. Arden studied her. You are the alien rescued from Sigma 12. Vessa frowned. Alien? Compared to who? Arden gestured to her crew. Compared to humans. Vesa said. Well, yes, I suppose everyone is alien compared to someone. Arden nodded. We have questions. Vesa smiled sweetly. I have many answers. Some are even relevant. Arden's stern composure cracked for half a second. Kalen groaned silently. First, Arden said, what species are you? Vesa opened her mouth, stopped, turned to Kalen, and said with theatrical seriousness, that depends. Arden raised an eyebrow. On what? On whether he tells me I'm pretty? Kalen almost died. Arden nodded once, expression unreadable. Doctor? Kalen swallowed. She is pretty. Vesa glowed so brightly the hollow display recalibrated itself. Thank you, human Kalen, she said softly. Arden observed this like a biologist discovering a new predator-prey dynamic. Species? Vesa straightened. I am Visara of the Echo-born, Arden's brows rose. We have no record of that species. You wouldn't, Vesa said. We avoid contact with younger civilizations. Arden's stare sharpened. You're calling us primitive. No, Vesa corrected. I'm calling you adorable. Kalen resisted the urge to bang his head against the bulkhead. Arden folded her arms. Until we know more, you will remain aboard as a diplomatic guest. Vesa clasped her hands dramatically. Wonderful. I love diplomacy, Kalen whispered. You definitely do not. She whispered back. I love your diplomacy, Arden interrupted. Dr. Reese, she remains under your supervision. Kalen, Captain. Please, Arden, any incidents will be your responsibility. Kalen, that seems excessive. Arden, enjoy. Kalen, Captain. Arden, dismissed. Kalen stood there, stunned. Vesa leaned close, voice purring with triumph. Well, she whispered. Looks like you really are stuck with me. Kalen's day had already been medically exhausting, diplomatically catastrophic, romantically inconvenient, and it was about to get worse. Because after leaving command, after Vesa nearly talked Arden into a stroke, after Kalen had accepted, reluctantly, resentfully, and with the air of a man forced to adopt a chaos lizard, that he was now responsible for her, they reached the issue he had been dreading, her room assignment, guest quarters. Kalen told her as the lift hummed down to deck 7. You'll stay there. That sounds lonely, she said. It's standard procedure. Do you stay in guest quarters? No? Then I don't want them. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Vesa, she leaned against the wall of the lift, arms crossed, looking far too self-satisfied. Dr. Kalen Reese, you saved me from a crater, glared at me in medical, carried me half unconscious through a dust storm, vowed responsibility for my well-being in front of your captain, complimented me under duress. Yes, I noticed. And now you want to put me in the boring room? It is not boring. Is it near your room? No. Then it's boring. The lift doors opened. Kalen walked out quickly. She followed with the smug swagger of a woman who had never lost a debate in her entire life and wasn't planning to start on a ship full of startled humans. Deck 7 bustled with off-duty crew. Conversations halted as Vesa passed. She waved. Someone tripped over their own feet. Kalen walked faster. Vesa kept pace effortlessly. You're embarrassed. I'm not. You're walking like someone's chasing you. They are. You. She laughed. If I wanted to chase you, human Kalen, I assure you, you wouldn't escape. He nearly swallowed his own tongue. Stop saying things like that in public. Why? The public seems entertained. That's the problem. They reached the guest quarter door. Kalen thumbed the access pad. The door swished open. The room was clean, neutral, spacious enough. A standard-issue guest cabin. Vesa stepped inside, surveyed it with an increasingly unimpressed expression, and turned back to Kalen like she was personally offended. This, she declared, is a storage closet. It's a guest suite. He snapped. Diplomatic envoys stay here. And do they also cry themselves to sleep? Vesa. She walked in a slow circle, unimpressed. Gray walls, gray bed, gray chair, gray everything. Are your people allergic to color? It's calming. Calming, she repeated flatly. To who? Funeral directors? Kalen rubbed his temples. Just make yourself comfortable. No, he froze. What do you mean, no? I'm not staying here. You have to. No. Yes. No. He He exhaled through his teeth. Where do you want to stay? Her eyes slid to him and lit up with pure, dangerous amusement. Oh, I have ideas. No, you don't know what I was going to say. Yes, I do. Do you? Yes, she laughed. I was going to say I want to stay somewhere interesting. Somewhere that reflects your ship's personality. That does reflect the ship's personality. Then your ship is depressed. Kalen clenched his fists at his sides. You have two choices. Stay here or stay in the medical wing. Her eyes narrowed. That's not a real choice. It absolutely is. She stared at him for 3 long, agonizing seconds. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her face. Fine, she said. I'll stay, Kalen blinked. You will? Yes. She clasped her hands behind her back. Under one condition, he knew. He knew he shouldn't ask, but he did. What condition? You decorate it. Kalen stared. She smiled, a wicked glow rising under her skin. Make it less boring. Add something pretty. Something interesting. Something human. I'm not an interior designer. You're symmetrical, she said. That implies good taste. That's not. She stepped closer, voice warm. Come on, humor me. No. She tilted her head. Human Kalen? No, doctor, no my Kalen. His heart stuttered. He hated that. No. You owe me, she said simply. For what? For not vaporizing your entire medical bay when I sneezed. You didn't sneeze. And that was effort, he groaned. Vesa, if you don't decorate it, she added sweetly, I'll go ask your captain for room reassignment. You wouldn't. I'd phrase it diplomatically. Something like, your ship is a bleak emotional void and I require habitat enrichment. Kalen dragged a hand down his face. I hate everything about this, she beamed. You'll do it then? He stared at her. At the glowing tattoos, the smug grin, the eyes that kept changing brightness depending on how amused she was, he deflated. Fine, she clapped once, delighted. Show me. What? Your room, she said. So I can tell you what's missing. Absolutely not. Why not? Because you'll judge me. I judge everything. That doesn't make it better. Take me. No. Please. Kalen froze. It was the first time she'd said the word, not teasing, not mocking, not manipulative, just soft. He swallowed. Vesa, it's important, she said quietly. If I'm staying here, I need to understand you. His chest tightened. He didn't like that feeling. He really didn't like the way her voice softened when she lowered the attitude. It made her seem vulnerable, real, something more than flirtation and trouble. He took a slow breath. Fine, you can see my room, briefly. Her face lit like a supernova. Lead the way. Kalen's quarter. Kalen's room was exactly what one would expect. Precise, minimalistic, organized with the efficiency of someone who feared chaos, the way others feared venomous insects. Bookshelves, medical journals, a plant that hadn't died yet but clearly wanted to, a desk with perfectly aligned tools, a bed with crisp corners. Vesa stepped inside and breathed in theatrically. Oh, this is tragic, Kalen winced. It is not tragic. This room looks like loneliness-built furniture. It is functional. It is bleak. It is efficient. It is sad. Kalen threw his hands up. What do you want from me? She ran a hand over his perfectly folded blanket. Personality. I have personality. She turned, eyebrow raised. Do you? Yes. Where is it? He gestured vaguely. In my work. That does not count. She circled him, studying him the way one studies a puzzle box. You saved me. You fought with your captain. You get flustered easily. You pretend to be annoyed when you're actually concerned. I'm not concerned, he muttered. You're always concerned. He froze. She stopped in front of him. Close. Too close. Why? She asked softly. He swallowed. You're my patient. You were concerned before you knew that. His throat tightened. You fell out of the sky. You could have left me. I don't leave people. Why? He looked down. He shouldn't answer. He shouldn't say anything, but the words came out before he could stop them. Because no one ever came for me. Her smile vanished. Her glow dimmed, soft, gentle, almost sad. She reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away. He didn't. Her hand touched his arm, warm and careful. Human Kalen. she whispered. I'm glad you came for me. His chest tightened so hard he forgot how to breathe. She didn't tease. She didn't smirk. She didn't flirt. She just said it. Simple. Sincere. It was more dangerous than anything else she'd done. He cleared his throat abruptly and stepped back. We have work to do. The room, decorations. Right. Her expression warmed. Not the mischievous glow, but something softer. If it helps, she said gently, my room doesn't need much. What do you need? She smiled. You. Kaylin nearly imploded. That is not. You can't. That's. She laughed again, the glow returning. I meant your effort, human, your effort. Oh, unless you want it to mean something else. I don't. For now. What? Joking. She wasn't. He knew she wasn't, and she knew that he knew. Kaylin had faced dangerous things before. Sentient fog, exploding spores, a malfunctioning food dispenser that once tried to bite him, and several co-workers with terminal cases of poor decision-making. But nothing was as lethal to his composure as his current situation. Decorating. Vessa's room, because decorating, real decorating, required creativity, personality, emotional expression, and colors that weren't sterile gray or slightly darker sterile gray. It required vulnerability. Kaylin hated vulnerability. Vessa, of course, loved it. This is excellent progress, Vessa announced, sitting cross-legged on her new bed, glowing faintly. I can feel your humanity developing. It's a pillow, Kaylin said flatly. It has patterns, geometric patterns. Patterns, she repeated. That implies aesthetic desire. It implies the shop was out of plain ones. She hummed. Denial, he glared at her. Your room now has one pillow, a lamp, a storage shelf, and a plant. A dying plant. It's not dying. She leaned toward the sad, lopsided fern. It wilted in fear. It is dying, she said. Fine, it's struggling. It's suicidal. Kaylin sighed. It'll recover. Vessa tapped her chin. So will you. What? Recover from what? Your personality famine. I do not have a personality famine. You do. It's endearing. He opened his mouth, closed it, and sat heavily in the desk chair. Vessa watched him, eyes glowing in a way that was no longer mischievous or mocking, just observant. You're stressed, she said softly. No, he lied. Yes, she corrected. He dragged a hand through his hair. This is not how my job normally works. What, supervising alien women you rescued from a crater? Yes. And decorating their rooms? Yes. And worrying about their well-being? I am not. You are, he slumped. You're impossible, she smiled. You say that like it's a bad thing. It is when I'm responsible for you. Maybe, she said, tilting her head. Stop treating responsibility like a punishment. He paused. Her glow dimmed a little, growing thoughtful. You act like looking after someone is a burden, but you do it anyway. Why? He stared at the floor. He didn't want to answer. He didn't want her to know. He didn't want her to understand him that well, because she already understood far too much. Because someone should, he murmured. She blinked. Should? Yes. He rubbed the back of his neck. People deserve that. Vessa's expression softened. But who takes care of you? He froze, his heart stalled, his breath caught. He stopped. He didn't know how to answer. Vessa frowned, leaning forward on her elbows. You didn't answer. I don't need... No, she said firmly. Tell me. Kaylin swallowed. I handle it myself. Always? Yes. That sounds very lonely. It's not. It is, she said gently. He shut his eyes. She was too perceptive. Too direct. Too willing to push past the walls everyone else ignored. He hated it. He needed it. He wasn't sure which frightened him more. The lights dim. The ship's automatic cycle lowered the room lighting to evening levels. The lamp Kaylin had chosen lit the space with a warm, low glow that softened the sterile lines of the cabin. Vessa stretched, the glow along her skin flickering in gentle waves. It's cozy now, she said. It's... Kaylin searched for a word. Acceptable. I like it. You like everything. Not true, she said. I dislike empty rooms, dull people, and emotional repression. He gave her a look. That sounds like an insult. It was an observation. She shifted, patting the bed beside her. Sit. No. Sit. No. Sit, she said, voice dipping dangerously low. Or I will walk around this ship telling everyone you're afraid of pillows. Kaylin stiffened. You wouldn't. She smiled slowly. You want to bet? He sat. She looked entirely too pleased. There, she said. Progress. This is not progress. It is. No. Yes. He sighed, defeated. Fine, what now? Vesa turned toward him, expression unusually serious. Tell me about Earth. He blinked. Earth? Yes, your home. I haven't lived there in years. That doesn't mean it's not in you. He hesitated. Then, slowly, because she was watching him with those impossibly bright eyes, he began. My family lived near the north ridge of the Varan coast. It's quiet. Lots of wind, lots of rain. Sounds peaceful. It is. What did you do there? Studied, worked, fixed things, helped people. That last one is still true, she said with a smile. He looked away. She nudged him lightly with her shoulder. Tell me more. So he did. Small things at first, stories about his siblings, the old tree outside his childhood home, the storms that shook the windows at night. Vesa listened. Really listened. No teasing. No flirting. No games. Just attention. Her glow softened to a warm pulse. You miss it, she said quietly. Sometimes you could go back? Not really. Why not? He hesitated. Because I'm needed here, he said. People rely on me. And what about what you want? I don't think about that. She studied him for a long moment. Then she asked the question he had feared. What do you want now? Kaylin's mouth went dry. He looked at her, at the glowing patterns under her skin, at the steady warmth in her gaze, at the way she looked at him like she saw every part he tried to hide. He knew the answer. He absolutely, desperately, stubbornly refused to say it, so he said the safest thing he could. I want you to get some rest. Vesa smiled sadly. Liar, he stood abruptly. I should go. You need to sleep. Stay. He froze. She didn't say it like a command, or a tease, or a trap, just a quiet request. Vesa, I'm scared, she said simply. What? Of what? Being alone. She looked down at her hands. My ship is gone. My people are systems away. I don't know if anyone survived. And I'm here, in a strange place, with strange rules, and a strange human who gets flustered every time I breathe. That's not... And right now, she continued softly, I feel safe. With you, so... Stay. Kaylin's chest tightened until it hurt. He should leave. He needed to leave. It was professional, logical, safe, but she was alone, and scared, and trying so hard to sound casual when she was clearly unraveling at the edges. He sat back down. She looked at him with something fragile. Something grateful. You stayed, she whispered, only until you fall asleep. That's enough. Silence settled between them. Comfortable, warm, unexpectedly, peaceful. Vesa shifted closer, just an inch. Kaylin didn't move away. After a moment, she murmured, I like this. What? You. Here. Kaylin stared at the floor. His voice came out low. Me too. She didn't tease him for it. She just rested lightly against his shoulder. Her glow dimmed to a soft, sleepy thrum. Kaylin stayed still, listening to the quiet rhythm of her breathing, the ship's reactor hum, and his own heartbeat trying to punch its way out of his chest. After several minutes, Kaylin, she murmured, half asleep. Yes? You're symmetrical. He closed his eyes. Go to sleep. She did, and Kaylin Reese, medic, professional, rational adult, sat in the quiet dark of the room he decorated for her, knowing he was in very serious trouble.